Hey everybody, what's going on? It's James here and wanted to shoot an update video for you. It's a little after 4 a.m. my time, July 22nd, and the market is moving south and it looks like we're starting to get a clearer picture on what this week is going to look like. So I actually took last night off, went and saw a movie with the family and everything, so I just sat down a little bit ago and first thing I notice is we have this it's a small dump, right? It's nothing too crazy, about $150 dump there. Looks like we're going to come down and possibly test this trend line. This is on a 5-minute chart right here, but so you can see on the hourly it's a little clearer. And then once I noticed this trend starting to form, I flipped over to a 4-hour chart to see what else I could notice. And this is what I'm seeing here. Now it's not confirmed yet, all right? So depending on when you're watching this video, it may or may not have confirmed. But right now, this is looking like it's trying to form a head and shoulders, okay? And it's a little wonky there, okay? Really, this whole thing will be a little higher, be more like right here. So if this head and shoulders completes, that's going to give us a new price target from our top of our head here down to our neckline. We'll call that about 800 bucks. So with the head and shoulders, your target is the height of the pattern. So in this case, that pattern's about 800 bucks or so, just shy of 800 bucks. So if we draw this out and try to line up the best I can here, that's gonna give us a price target of down around $9,500. Now, we have to ask ourselves, does that target actually make sense? And the answer is it absolutely makes sense. If you look right here, that would be our line of support. We would come down and check that line there. So, this was resistance, it busted through, it became support. So essentially right now what I'm thinking may happen, and again, it's not confirmed, so this could change very rapidly. I think we're probably gonna go down and test this line. Now we may not go straight down, we may go down, bounce a little, and then come down, or maybe even do something like this. But I definitely think this week we're going to come down and test this $9,500 level. And, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But like I've talked about in past videos, if we keep dipping under $10,000, eventually people are going to get scared. Eventually these super permanent bulls that are unshakable in their faith, they're going to get shaken. And that's really all a correction does. It just shakes people off the tree, right? And then the price goes down, and then people get excited, and they buy it back up, and the price goes back up. So that's what I think is going to happen. That's what I'm looking for this week. I'm not entering any trades right at the second. Now, if I see a setup come in, I have no problem taking a trade off of this trend line. If it comes down and other factors that I'm looking for line up, I have no problem taking this and playing the bounce for 1 or 2%. But the funny thing is, a lot of people don't understand trading. They don't trade. They're just holding Bitcoin. And they don't understand how you can be bearish but still go long on Bitcoin. And it's very simple because markets don't move in straight lines, right? It's very unlikely this is just going to go straight down. Now it can. I mean, look what happened over here, right? It's literally what it did. It just went down. But I would be willing to wager money that if I went in and zoomed in on a 5-minute chart, this is a 4-hour chart, I would bet you if I zoomed in on a 5-minute chart that there were places you could have went long in here, okay? In fact, let's just look real quick. So in this big dump, could you have went long? Yeah, absolutely could have. All right, so it dumped here, it bounced 3%, day trader could have traded that. Here it bounced 2%, day trader could have traded that. Here it bounced 3%, could have traded that. I'm not saying I would have traded all of these. Other things have to line up. It's not just, you can't go back in hindsight and say, oh, coulda. Well, you can say could have. You can't say would have. All right. But what I'm saying is there were plenty of opportunities to play long on these bounces, and that's the market just doesn't go straight down, doesn't go straight up. Okay. So yeah, I'm bearish right now. Super bearish actually. And if this confirms, then like I said, I'll be looking for an ultimate retest of this $9,500 level, and I would expect it will fail and that we'll go down through it. If we look at this, we're inside of this channel. So we put this on a daily chart. We're inside of this big channel. Oh my goodness, let's get rid of some of these lines. We don't need all these lines. Okay, let's make it a little easier to see. Turn off the EMAs. All right, So basically right now what Bitcoin is doing is just bouncing around in here, okay? And eventually it's going to fail. And eventually it's going to go down, either break north out of this or it's going to fail south and go below it. This was a pretty weak bounce, okay? So this, we had what looked like an inverse head and shoulders that actually, failed. And it looked like it was going to send it up here. It didn't happen. So now there's a good chance this is actually going to come down and test this line. And if you look, that line's right around $8,700, depending on when it tests it. It could test it over here around 9,000, maybe over here around 8,500. And it doesn't have to stop there. It can slip through it and come right back up. But to me, it looks bearish. This is a downtrend. It's a daily chart. If we go to a 3-day chart, it's even easier to see. It's an obvious downtrend. If we go to a weekly chart, even easier to see, obvious downtrend. And if we go to a monthly chart, it's easy to see. We topped out here, we're making a lower high, and it's a red candle, which is not all that surprising. I actually posted on Twitter a couple of weeks ago saying that, at no time in the last 5 years has Bitcoin put in more than 5 monthly green candles in a row. It's never done it, not in 5 years. The most we've ever done is 5, and then the 6th one always turns red. And you can see right here is a good example. In 2017, even on the parabolic run-up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 green candles, boom, red. 1, 2, 3, red. Right here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody can count, I know. Boom, this is turned red. Now, there's still 8 days, 9 days left in July, so this could, flip back to green. It's certainly a possibility. I think it's much more likely we're going to end the month down, and this is going to be a red candle. How far down? It's hard to say, right? But if we come down to the top of this candle from May, look where that puts us, $8,578, which again is that ever so important level that we need to go back to fill the gap on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. So nothing in this chart is surprising. Nothing in this chart is like, oh my gosh, why did it do that? Or, oh my gosh, why is it doing this? It's acting just like a market should, right? It's trying to correct. There's people that are FOMO buying. There's people that are, super bullish, and so they're making it a lot slower. And it's, it depends on your outlook in the market. For some people, it's probably a painful process. If you're a bull, it's probably painful to watch this thing just keep fighting like this. And same thing if you're a bear, it can be a little painful. Again, I don't care because I'm a day trader. So I don't care whether it's bullish or bearish. I'm patiently waiting, and when it gets down to those levels that I'm looking to buy at, right? The first one of those levels is going to be down around $7,200. When it gets down to that level, if it puts in proper structure, I'll be happy to go long on Bitcoin. And when I say I'll go long on it, I'll be looking to ride that up until the trend breaks, and maybe that'll take us back to 13.8, maybe that'll take us to 10, maybe it'll take us to 15, maybe it'll take us to 20. Who knows, right? There's no way to predict where that's going to go. You can guess, but you can't accurately predict it. So for right now, I'll just watch this. And this thing comes down and breaks this neckline, which, by the way, when we talk about necklines, it's not an exact science, because some people like to use the candle close and some people like to use the candle tails, right? Me personally, I feel most confident when it breaks the tail, but candle close is a pretty strong signal. So basically what we have is somewhere in this area, right? I'm looking for an hourly close somewhere in this area or below. And to me, that would be a confirmed head and shoulders. So that's going to be down around 10.3, down around 10.250 to 10.3, somewhere in that ballpark. If we can get a close down there, then I would expect us to drop further. All right. But if you are long on Bitcoin, just be aware that, you can look at whatever chart you want. We're in an obvious downtrend right now. Okay. Until we make a higher high or we make a higher low, it's a downtrend. So for example, if this candle here came down and stopped, like right here, well, that would be a higher low. It'd be a good chance we'd head back up. But it hadn't done that yet. So we'll watch it and see what happens. I haven't taken a look at Litecoin today, so I can't do an analysis on it. I have no idea what the price is. I couldn't even tell you within $10. What I can tell you is there's a lot of people right now who are capitulating with alts. I'm seeing more and more people saying that alts are dead. They're never coming back. It's over. It's done with. And here's all I'll tell you about alts. I have a setup that I've created for myself that I've never shared, and I won't share it until I've used it enough that I feel confident in it. But that setup has been extremely accurate at predicting when alts are going to pump on an individual coin by coin basis, I'm starting to see some signals come in. I went long yesterday on a shitcoin. I mean, a literal shitcoin I've never even heard of. It was over on Binance, but the signal came in, and so far it's up about 4%. So, and that's 4% versus Bitcoin, not US dollars. So I think alts, I think when people start talking about alts, never coming back, I think that's capitulation. If you think about a market cycle and the way it works, it's when everybody's given up hope and said, man, this is over, it's done with. That's typically when you see the pump, right? When everybody's given up. So keep your head up. I'm not telling you to buy alts right now. I'm certainly not saying that. I don't think it's the best time to buy alts. You'd have to look at it on a case-by-case basis. Some alts, it may be a great time, some maybe not so much. But I do think that we will have another alt season. I do think we'll have lots of alts pump, just like we had the last cycle and just like the cycle before that. And it's just a matter of waiting and being patient for that to happen. As long as Bitcoin is correcting, it's very hard for alts to get very much traction because it's yanking their value down. And when you have a face rip like this, it's very hard for alts to get traction because they can't keep up with Bitcoin. If you were around this market in 2017, this very same thing happened. Bitcoin went on an absolute face tear, and alts just went down, 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 down. I was down on a lot of my alts 50 and 60% in 2017, but just 3 months later, I was up anywhere from 10 to 50x on a lot of those same alts. For example, with Stellar, at one point I was down 67% of my investment. I went in at 3 cents, it dropped under a penny. Then all of a sudden, a couple months later, it went to 90 cents, right? So I was 30x on something that I was down 67% on. Same thing with EOS. I bought EOS at $1.80. It dropped to 50 cents. I got super depressed about it. Well, a few months later, it went to $28 or $24, somewhere in that ballpark. Don't get depressed by it. Get excited by it, because if the alts hit all-time lows, and then they start putting in reversal signals, meaning they start showing trend reversals, that's how you get wealthy, right? That's how you take, a couple of Bitcoin or, a tenth of a Bitcoin or 2/10 of a Bitcoin and turn it into 2 or 3 Bitcoin, or if you got, 5 or 10 Bitcoin, turn it into 50 Bitcoin is on those alts. But you just got to know what you're looking for. So you can't just run in and say, oh, it's low, I'm going to buy it, right? Because it can always go lower. With all that being said, I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it off there. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you are watching it on YouTube, please be sure and subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up. And always remember that I am literally some guy sitting in a spare bedroom. I am not a financial advisor, and you should always do your own due diligence and seek out professional investment advice before making any type of investment in cryptocurrency.